What's up guys, Jerome here from the Bonsai Supply, and if this is your first time coming across this channel and you like bonsai, you are in luck because that's what this channel is all about. We improve our skills together and we learn everything there is to know about bonsai. Now if you guys are a subscriber already, thank you guys so much for your support and welcome back. Now before we get into today's video, make sure that you like this video and also make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already so that you never miss one of our new videos coming out. Alright, so this story time in today's video. And sadly, one of my very favorite bonsai trees has died. So to the subscribers that have been watching over the years, I wanted to give you more insight on my bonsai journey. And for those new to the channel, I hope you also find it beneficial. And as a reminder, that we all make mistakes, but the most important thing is that we learn from them. So first of all, I'm going to tell you how this tree was grown. So a good friend of mine, Ed Trout in Florida, he took a little cutting off of another bonsai tree, also an American elm, took a little cutting off that elm tree, rooted the cutting, and then turned it into this, as you can see it right here, over about 26 years. So the way that he did it, he rooted it, he put it into a little pot and just waited to see what would happen. Would it survive? Would it start to root? Would it start to grow? So it started to grow, and then each year he would just up-pot it into a larger container and larger container and larger container. And over the course of 26 years, by continuously wiring the branches, pruning, the pads back into shape, it turned into something like this. And that took about 26 years. I mean, take a look at this tree. It's incredible. It shows so much age on the bark and all the branches are in perfect placements. It looks like a beautiful deciduous tree. Now this tree was entirely grown in South Florida, which is a growing zone 10. To be more specific, it was grown below Fort Lauderdale. So we used to live in Fort Lauderdale. The tree was grown even further south and it just survived in a tropical climate for over 26 years. So next, let's talk about how I actually got the tree. So I met Ed in Florida. I believe it was at a bonsai club many years ago. And he wanted to get rid of some of his larger trees in his collection and focus more on smaller trees. So naturally, I have always been in love with this elm tree. So I asked him if he would sell it to me and we struck a deal, and then it came into my backyard and it has been in my possession for about 12 years until it died. So I've had it for a really long time. It was super healthy. Every year, I defoliated it, I repotted it every 2 to 3 years, and I took it from looking like that into looking like this. Alright, so next we're going to have to talk about the part that I'm dreading the most of this video, which is why I believe it died. So in order to understand why it died, we have to kind of follow the months before it started to decline, right? We have to go back to the beginning and see exactly what went wrong. So here's what I believe went wrong. So this was in early 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. I repotted the elm tree because it lost all of its leaves over the winter time, and then it started to bud out. And that was a great time for me to go in there and repot the tree. And so I took the tree from the shallow container and repotted it into a deeper container to give it some more room to grow, but also to make sure that, it can be a little healthier. Like it was healthy, but it was in that shallow pot for about 10 years. I just wanted to give it more room to grow more healthy roots. So I did not do an extensive repotting. It was a very minor repotting, but still I messed with the roots. Then a month later, it went up to Orlando at the Flower and Garden Festival, which is 3 hours north. So it's a colder climate, and you might think, wow, 3 hours is not a big deal. It's actually a huge deal for a freshly repotted tree. So you went from South Florida, growing zone 10, up to Orlando to a growing zone 9. Once it got there and we dropped it off in Orlando, I took a picture with Ed and me next to the tree, which was super cool, to have both of us that have worked on this tree take a picture with it and display it at Epcot once again. Now, once I left Epcot and I went back home, they got a little bit of a cold spell. So naturally the tree was budding out, and then it has a cold spell, so it naturally went back down in terms of like it couldn't fully push out, and that was already a problem. In the meantime, while the tree was at Epcot, I moved from Fort Lauderdale to Georgia, to Atlanta, Georgia, which is from Orlando, then another 7 hours further north, which now we are in growing zone 8. So it went from a 10 to a 9 to an 8. And that was in the middle of the pandemic that we moved. And then Epcot Flower and Garden Center, Disney World, actually closed down. So we all had to go get our trees after the tree was just displayed for about a month. So it was a month in growing zone 10, a month in growing zone 9, and then I had already moved. So I had no other choice but to go pick up the tree. So I moved it then from growing zone 9 to a growing zone 8. So within 3 months, it went into 3 different climates, which is not that ideal. And I thought, wow, I'm going to lose a tree immediately. And that's not exactly when it went wrong. It actually continued to grow perfectly fine throughout the year. And then in the wintertime, once it turned into fall, I got a beautiful fall show on the tree. And, you know, I covered the entire pot with leaves to insulate the roots. I did not think that I would have to actually overwinter the tree, like in terms of like putting it into a greenhouse, because it is a deciduous tree. So I thought, it would just adapt to the climate very quickly and easily. And we don't have very cold winters here where I would have to worry that much. So I thought, you know what, it would be fine, right? So, and that's kind of really my mistake, and that's where it all went wrong. So I did insulate the roots, but the big mistake was I did not notice that the tree was in the path of cold, dry, that Arctic wind. So in the wintertime, I always tell you guys, move your trees out of direct wind. I knew that, and I'm still teaching it, and I'm teaching it now with experience as well, that the elm tree was in the middle of that Arctic wind. So I want to say about a third of the tree died back. Completely died off because it was in the path of that wind. And because the tree had no leaves on it, I never noticed. Because when a tree has leaves on it, you can see if it gets hit by the wind. No leaves on it, kind of hard to tell. Also, the winter time is usually when I travel the most because we have our business in Texas. The trees don't need that much care, so it's perfect time for me to travel. So I traveled a lot. In the spring, only half the tree came back. The whole entire backside died off completely, and I made a video about it, and I'm going to leave the video, of course, at the end of this video down below in the comment section, so you can, of course, watch all of the videos of this elm tree after this video, of course, so you can follow along its journey. So only half the tree died off. I made a video about it, what I do with the dead branches. I cut them all off, and I set the tree up for success. It continued to grow. That following year, now I guess we are in like 2021, it grew very healthy throughout the entire year, and I thought it was fine. Spring of 2022, it was again very healthy, and everything was fine about the tree. And I was like, oh, I have finally acclimated, everything is going well. And then all of a sudden, in the summer of 2022, it had new branches that grew like and that I was planning on replacing the older branches that had died off. It grew, everything was fine, and all of a sudden it just declined. One day to the next, the entire tree died. And there was it didn't have any, it couldn't have been like a Dutch elm disease or anything like that. I think it just finally had enough. It snapped and it just completely died off. So when it died off, it happened so fast, there was nothing I can do with it. So I think it was just weak from the years before, and it was just trying to hold on, and then finally, that was it. So I guess the lesson to learn here is that when you move your trees, make sure that you set yourself up for success at the new location. So meaning if you have a deciduous tree in a tropical climate and you move into a colder climate, you might want to overwinter it inside a greenhouse for the first year and then put it outside next spring so that the tree can acclimate for an entire year. I did not have that luxury. I had to move the tree in the middle of the summertime, and it was just like, it was awful. It was humid and hot in Florida. It was still cool here. The tree was not doing so well. It was just, overall, it was just it was a recipe for disaster. Nothing I can do. It happened, and that's the lesson that I took from it, that if I move into a different climate again, I want to do more research and I want to set myself up for success. If you move into a tropical climate, you know, make sure that you don't move your trees in the middle of the summer when it is super hot. Move them when it is a little cooler, if you come from a cooler climate. And if you move from a hotter climate into a colder climate, you know, like the middle of the summer would be a really good time to do that, so you can just transfer from one heat into another hot place. But then just watch the first and the second overwintering if you have the same problem, right? If you move temperate trees from a warm climate into a colder climate, or vice versa. Something that you have to do slowly and adjust them. And it's something that is very difficult to do no matter what. Even if you move a tropical tree from Florida up north into a greenhouse, it's still quite challenging to do because you're dealing with different climates, different light, different everything. So that was quite difficult, and this is why I think it unfortunately died, but it is a lesson to have learned, and you know, I think this lesson has made me a better artist now. Very sad artist, but I think a better artist. So, you know, I hope that this video kind of helped you guys understand a little bit more about why the tree died, you know, and how to follow the steps and figure out why it died. But hopefully also this video helps you to not make the same mistakes that I have made. And if you make the same mistake, it's okay, because as long as you learn from it, right? It was a very valuable lesson for me to learn, and to lose that tree, not a lesson that I have preferred, but it just happened. I made that, I learned from that lesson, and here I am today showing you exactly what happened. So this is not obviously to discourage you, because we all love bonsai. This is more to encourage you to understand that, oh, it happens. It's a living art form. Things happen, and you know, let me first find out what went wrong with it, and then let me find out how I can prevent that from happening again in the future. So now I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this tree. You know, why do you think it died? Also, what do you do when a tree dies? Do you do a same burning ceremony, or do you turn it into a chandelier or something like that? I don't know, but I would love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great week, and I will catch you guys next time.